until you get to that next level. You move that next chess piece, you take that hat off and give it to somebody else. And then you get to the point that you're living that ultimate lifestyle and you're running your machine very, very smooth and well-oiled.
Unlock the secret sauce of millionaire entrepreneurs. This is your exclusive VIP pass to the hidden world of the ultra successful business owners. I'm Chad Kodary, CEO of DashClicks, and welcome to Behind the Revenue. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Revenue. This time, I have another good friend of mine coming on today, Gary Cox. Gary, I have been watching you fly planes all over the last year. I know you're doing a lot of coaching. There's a lot of stuff kind of happening in the life of Gary Cox. I see you kind of all over the place on social. We've met in person multiple times. Always fun meeting you, Gary. If you can, just for the viewers, just tell them, who is Gary Cox? What does Gary Cox do? And kind of maybe some background about yourself.
No, I appreciate that, Chad. It's so good to catch up again with our crazy lives. It's Gary Cox. That's with an E at the end, C-O-X-E. Basically, what I do is I have kind of like two programs. I've been, doing the speaking thing for, over 30 years. So I've got about 3,000 speaking engagements underneath me. So I enjoy doing that. But what I actually do is I work a lot with authors or coaches, speakers, consultants, and I help them create marketing strategies where they are whatever they're doing in a year, that I'll be able to show them how to condense that and show them the strategies where it could be done actually in one event or in one day. So that's kind of cool. And then I have, as you know, my jet retreat mastermind where I take people in the jet from Central Florida. We go to Sandals Resorts. That's my sponsor, been my sponsor for about 20 years. And we do a mastermind there where people have the opportunity to engage with myself. And also, we have other entrepreneurs, or sometimes we'll get a coach that has 7 clients that they want to bring along, and we'll do a joint venture together. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. That puts a lot of fun into the business for me.
Yeah, I want to actually peel the onion back, because I know we've been talking about this trip on a jet going down to the Bahamas, to the Sandals Resort. So, what is that like? Let's say, let's maybe talk about it from the perspective of when you do it for yourself, when you have your own students that you're bringing on, right?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, I have a inner circle mastermind. So those who are part of the inner circle, they get that. So ultimately, they get me as their pilot, because I'm just obsessed with this flying stuff. So it's a cool experience. More importantly, it's not just about the jet and everything like that. But what it is about is, a lot of times when people come with me, they jump in the jet. And in fact, I'm going to Vegas in a couple of days with Dan Henry. So we're going to go do a bunch of podcasts in Vegas and give him an experience. But it's about an experience. But more importantly, most people have never flown in a private jet, or at least done it on a regular basis. And when you do something like that, because we understand that proximity is power, right? Your network is your net worth. So when you're in this type of proximity, you realize that, wait a minute, this is the way there are people that actually live. They live this way. And I have this rule: anything over 30 minutes needs to be flown, right? So then I take the helicopter. But the whole idea is when you realize there's a different way of living and having a different lifestyle, you move the chess pieces a little differently in your business. And it's amazing to me, when we're done at the end of the day, my students, they realize that, wait a minute, I want to do more of this type of a lifestyle. And it's not about having to work more, but it's working smarter, or maybe working smarter harder. So sometimes it's a simple shift as increasing your belief in the value of what you offer to increase your price to justify that. So there's a number of different things. So it really gets people to start changing their game, and they see what part of their thinking needs to be adjusted to make that happen, Chad.
So before we go into all the business talk, which I know we're definitely going to get into, I want to just ask a question, because it's something that I've always wondered. You're a pilot. You've been flying for how many years now? Decades, right?
Yeah, about 30 years, I guess. Yeah.
30 years. What's it like just flying a plane, man? What is that even like? Because for me, especially somebody who is somewhat not really fearful of heights, I'm okay when I go on planes, but there's a lot of people that when they jump on a plane, they have anxiety attacks, right?
Sure.
So one, how do you overcome that? And two, especially when you're driving, or when you're flying, not driving, when you're flying a more of a smaller jet, you're not on a Spirit flight or like a JetBlue flight, right? Something like that. Like, what's the difference between that too? Is like there's like a fear factor there that anything can happen in the air, right? So like, how do you cope with that? How do
Yeah.
people cope with that? And what's it like being up in the air?
Well, for me, it's one big word and it's freedom. I have the freedom to, my aircraft is literally a mile from my house at the airport. And it's the freedom to not have to worry about TSA. It's the freedom to appreciate the value of your time where I can just pick up and go. Yeah, granted, it may cost X amount of thousands of dollars an hour, but when your time becomes that valuable, that's where you begin playing the game differently. So for me, it's freedom. What it does for me, it keeps my mind very, very sharp because I fly a lot of different stuff, Chad. I fly helicopters, airplanes, jets, single engine, gliders, blah, blah, blah. And it gets my brain constantly,
You got to be
snapping
focused,
all the
dude.
time. You have to pay attention. And I'm always spending a lot of time training, a lot of, I read a lot of books, 2 to 4 books a month, but I spend a tremendous amount of time studying manuals and systems and emergency procedures and whatnot. But I enjoy that. And what's cool is there's no such thing as a perfect flight. There's always a little something that you miss, and hopefully it's not the landing gear or something like that, but it's usually something simpler. And I get off on that. That really excites me because I want to be the very best at everything I do. So that's a way for me to demonstrate my ability to, how can I be better today? What can I do and be on top of my game consistently? And it's a great way to eliminate all the problems and the stress that you have in life. Yeah, it has its own stress, but you have to be so focused. Like, if I'm getting ready to get in the airplane and you call me, I'll say, hey, Chad, I got to roll. I got my pilot's hat on. So I know how to, make that box where I'm in pilot mode now, and I don't weave them over. So that enables me just to forget about anything else I have to do, which is a
What
great escape for me.
what was the scariest thing that ever happened on a plane? I'm sure you've had experiences where something maybe malfunctions or something happens. What was like the most traumatic, maybe
Yeah,
not traumatic, but scariest moment for you while you were up in the air?
probably my first engine failure. I was test flying an airplane and I lost the engine on it twice. So one time I took off and I lost the engine and I was able to bring it back on a grass field that I took off at.
Jeez.
And then the
What
same
happens? What happens
airplane.
when you lose the engine? What does that actually mean? Like, and I wanna add some context. This also for the viewers. I'll tell a little story so I can understand the concept of this. I just got back from Vegas like 3 weeks ago. I was up
Mm,
in Vegas, maybe a little more than that. I was at the traffic and conversions event out
yeah,
in
yeah,
Vegas. Um,
yeah.
and we took a red eye flight on the way home. It was like 1 in the morning, and it was on JetBlue. And
Hmm.
I get on the plane and I knock out because it's the middle of the night. I open my eyes like
Sure.
an hour and a half later. I realize we're still on the tarmac. We didn't move. All of a
Holy
sudden,
crap.
5 minutes later, we hear the speaker come on. We had an engine failure. Everybody's got to get off the plane. We're getting the maintenance crew to come fix it, and then you guys can get on and we'll fly out. And in my
Right.
mind, I'm like, am I really about to get back on a plane that just
Right.
right? That's the first thing, and the whole
For
plane
sure.
you hear like going into
And
panic,
that's
right?
where I
So
think they're really dumb about not explaining that because that's what the average person would think.
exactly.
100%.
And here's
100%.
here's the shitty part that happened. We got off the plane. We waited about an hour and a half, got back on the plane. I knocked back out again. At this point, it's like 2:33 in the morning, right? I open my eyes an hour later. We're still on the tarmac.
Holy crap.
Another announcement comes on. The engine still has failed after we fixed it. Everybody's got to get off of the plane. And in my mind, we're decommissioning the plane. And in my mind,
Great.
I'm like, dude, is like, thank God that this happened on the floor and not in the air.
Yeah.
So in my
Yeah.
mind, the reason why I'm telling this story is what does it actually mean when they said one of the engines has failed? How many engines are on this plane, and how does this actually like what's happening here?
That's a good question, and excuse the term, but because you're the passenger, you're ignorant, meaning you don't
Yes,
know what you don't know.
100%.
We're all ignorant to things, right?
Hell yeah.
So you don't know what you don't know. Example, if you come with me and we fly a jet, I can pull one of the engines, which means I take the throttle and pull it back. I'm simulating the engine failure, the engine's out, and you would probably not even know it. It's
Really?
that amazing, right? Also, too, common sense hopefully should tell us that the aircraft should have redundant things. So there's checklists. Like I just finished. In fact, I literally like a week and a half ago just finished doing what we call jet recurrent school. So you're required by law to do jet training and recurrent training at a certain time all the time. And that's the stuff that we practice. The engine failing, the gear won't go down. What do you do? I mean, it's just that's the whole training is about that. So when somebody experiences that as a pilot, we're trained for that, and hopefully we do a good job at it. But it's a constant training, and that's another thing that I like about it. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. What are also, I heard that, and I like all these airplane questions because I'm not scared of flying. I think it's a thing that people just sometimes don't like doing, right? Because it's like an
Sure.
uncomfortable state. You're in the air, you have no
Right.
control, right?
Yeah.
So like for
100%.
me, I have no problem flying. I usually get on the plane, I'll try to just knock out and hopefully wherever I am, wake up, right?
Right.
But for me, like when you are getting on this plane and you have also passengers, right?
Yeah.
And you have passengers that might be scared shitless of jumping on this plane. Like, is there any techniques or anything that you tell them that they can do to just try to just calm down?
I tell them holding tight to the airplane seat does no good because it'll go down with you when we have to go down. No. No, I mean, if I'm doing therapy, like I did Dr. Phil show the doctors for like three
Yeah,
years, showing people how to reprogram their phobias or their trauma and stuff like that. So no, I have to go through a whole process. But what I do find out if there's anybody that is overly sensitive, there's no shame here, about the clouds or anything like that, then I will do my very best to, go around them or, no funny, cool stuff. Sometimes it's nice to do a really fun, like I just took some friends up in the helicopter about 3 days ago. And I said to anybody, is everybody okay with some really fun, cool, sharp turns? And if one person says I'm not, then I'm not going to do it because I want to make
yeah.
sure it's fun for everybody. But if somebody's like holding on a lot, I'll tap them and say, all you're doing by holding on and, taking the pill or whatever it is somebody does, they're rewarding the negative behavior. And then
Mm,
it doesn't get any better. It just
yeah.
gets worse.
Isn't there like a stat, and I might be wrong, that you're more likely to get struck by lightning than be in a plane crash or something like that. Like there's a bunch of stats that they always have about like planes going down. Like it's very unlikely.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those things that you hear about because it is not often. It's like a shark attack, right? I mean, there's not that
Yeah.
many shark attacks in the entire world with millions of sharks out there, but when it does happen, you're going to hear about it. And it feeds people like, years and years ago when that movie Jaws came out, everybody and their mother was afraid of sharks. And,
Yep.
when you have little Chucky at Halloween come out, everybody's afraid of little Chuckies or whatever. So it's just what we feed the mind, right?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, fair enough. All right, I'm done with the plane questions. I just had to get that out of my system. Uh, so you're taking, and I want to go to the whole coaching, private
Yeah.
jet and all that stuff side really quick. So something that you've been doing for a long time, and I know we've spoke about it multiple times, is you work directly with coaches that will basically do like a 1 day, call it mastermind, or whatever you want to call it, workshop,
Yeah.
mastermind, right? And basically everybody meets you. How does it work? Do they meet you? You're in Lakeland, Florida, right?
Yep, yeah, we're in Central Florida. So let's say that you're the coach, right? And you've got you're going to get 7 clients that are going to say, "Hey, Chad, I see this coaching opportunity that you're putting together with Gary, and I want to be able to pick his brain, but I really want to pick your brain." And there, you keep no agenda. That way, the clients that come, they value the time that they have to spend with you and knock out a bunch of questions with you. Also, we supply, video footage so they can use that to elevate their brand.
Mm,
All these different things are included in this. And then what you would do as the coach, you charge whatever you want to charge. Typically, you'll end up making 25 to maybe 50K for that day because we have a flat fee that we'll charge for my services. And then, of course, include the jet and the food and, flying over there. We do everything like, there's a dignitary police escort. I mean, they literally shut the traffic down. We're going 80 to 100 miles an hour to get to the hotel. It's awesome. Then we'll have, when you land, you don't even go through customs. I mean, it's literally from the jet, police escort into a vehicle. And then they have all this, great opportunity. And then if the coach is not offering something like a 5 or 6K package, we will teach you or help you create a package. So at the end of the day, if you want to, you can offer a 5 or 6K package so you can make even more at the end. But what I find is one of the coolest things when we do something like this is because the experience is so incredible, and me being the pilot, I let people come up to the cockpit and check things out and maybe push a button or two, take some pictures, which is kind of cool for them. But because these are successful people that do this, Chad, when they are given all these strategies to grow their business, they come back and they implement like crazy. And because of that, they get great results. And they give a lot of the credit to you because you're the one that invited them to do this, for them to learn so much. And the ripple effect on social media is nuts. I mean, I literally see people posting stuff that they came on this mastermind with the jet with me like 5 years ago. They're still posting it, or when it comes up on their memory. So it's a win-win situation for everybody involved.
I can tell you one thing. I remember I remember a couple years ago, you guys actually came down. You were at our office. We did a whole webinar
Yeah, I flew
together.
down.
Yeah, it was me, you, Nick. I'm gonna botch the last
Santa
name.
Nastasa. Good old Nick.
Santanastasa. Yeah, good
Yeah.
old Nick, which is he's crushing it right now. I see him all over Tony Robbins events, so super proud of him.
Yeah, he is.
And there was like one or two other guys, I think some of Nick's friends, and you guys flew down, and I want to kind of paint the picture here, because when you're talking about like an experience with these private jets, right? I want to paint the picture of what that experience was for me, just coming to meet you guys at the terminal.
And you didn't even get to fly, right? Silly
I didn't
me.
even get to fly, dude. I was just and I'm literally, and for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm a car guy, so I've always had
Yeah,
cars.
you
I
are.
love
I remember
cars,
your
right?
car, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so I roll up, and I'm in a Lamborghini, right? I have my Lamborghini. I got the top down. It's a beautiful day in South Florida, and you fly down, and you're messaging me, and you're like, "Hey, Chad, we're at this terminal. Just pull up to the gate and tell them my name. They'll let me in." Right? And I've never been to a private airport before. This was the first time that I've ever been to a private airport.
Okay.
First
Very
time ever,
cool.
right? So for me, it was like, this is kind of cool. I'm coming in here like I feel like a big shot, right? I got my Lamborghini. I'm at the gates. They're opening the doors. They're letting me in. I'm driving my Lamborghini to the plane on the
tarmac.
tarmac, right? And I'm driving, and I'm like, holy shit, this is like so cool, right? And
Isn't
I
it,
literally
though?
I pull up next to the plane, right? And you're parked there, and I see you guys are already starting to like offload and unload, get off the plane, right? And I pull up, and I'm like, this is the life that these big entrepreneurs are experiencing. They're taking their cool cars, they're driving to their planes. Like, dude, I was literally from the gate to the plane in like a minute and a half, right?
Literally.
That's how
Yeah.
quick.
Oh, yeah.
You literally just get on your plane and leave, right?
Yep.
And I remember going, okay, and I get off and I see Nick coming out, right? And I see you coming out, right? And I'm just looking around. And by the way, I videotaped the whole thing, so I had tons of stories. And by the way, a lot of those stories, some of them got a lot of views on like IG and all that. They're great.
Sure.
That's what you said for content, right? Those content pieces,
Unbelievable content,
are
man.
crazy, man. And like once again, I want to reiterate the fact that I didn't even get on the plane. I just came to meet you guys, and then, right. So then you got everybody gets off the plane, and we walk into the private airport, and we sit down there for a couple of minutes. I guess everybody's just getting their belongings and kind of getting their stuff together, right? And then we drive from the private airport to our office. Our office is in Fort Lauderdale. It's literally right off 595, right? So it's like 15 minutes away from the airport that I met you guys at. And that whole experience, just for that like hour, whatever, me coming, meeting you guys, leaving, and then you guys coming to obviously you guys spent a lot of time in my office. Went live. There's a couple hundred people live with us. We did a live webinar, right, in our studio. It was such an experience for me. I can only imagine jumping on a plane, like actually continuing that journey, jumping on the plane and going to the freaking Bahamas, right? And then being escorted like that whole just prestige kind of vibe, right? It's an experience, and that's what I like. What you said, the experience. And I don't think people really understand that. I got like a little glimpse of it, which I thought was so cool. So you basically take, and you said it's the coach plus 7 of his students or members or whatever they want to call it, right? So it's total,
because we have 8 people that go on the jet with me.
8 people, okay. And then is it 8 people plus you, and then plus a cameraman?
No, we have so let's say you wanted to do this. So it would be you bring 7 of your clients, then we have me as the pilot, and then we'll have another pilot. This aircraft is a 2-pilot aircraft, and then we have a hostess in the back, and she manages everybody and does part of the video and the filming and all that good stuff. Plus, depending on what needs to be done, we may have a crew in the Bahamas to do more filming.
How does that
I've
work
been doing this for
when you're?
like 30 years. We have this down to a science,
Yeah, I
and
know. I've
and
seen
and
you all the time.
I think what you said was correct. It's about a lifestyle, and I'm not saying to people it's not about the glitz and the fancy cars like
It's
you
not.
have
It's
or
has
the
nothing to do
airplanes
about
that I
that.
have. It's about a lifestyle. There are things that you can do right now to dramatically increase your lifestyle by having somebody clean your house if you don't do that, or having somebody go to the gas station to put gas in your car. There's so many little things that you can do, and this is what this does. This gets you in the mindset, because I was very blessed, Chad, that I had a billionaire mentor before he passed. And one of the things I learned from hanging with him was lifestyle. Now, granted, he can afford it because he's a billionaire. But when you watch a billionaire, a true billionaire without ego operate, you will see that what they do is they only wear 3 or 4 hats. Whereas when we're entrepreneurs, if we're not careful, especially when you get started, you have a lot more time than you do money. So what do? You put in the time to make more money to be able to take off hats. But a lot of times people aren't focused. One of the focuses that every entrepreneur should have is my next financial move is to take off another hat of mine, delegate it and give it to somebody else so I can do what I'm very, very best at. So you need to know what your superpower is. So then you find out what other people's superpowers are that you're unfortunately trying to do that you're not as good at. And maybe you have no choice but to do it right now until you get to that next level. You move that next chess piece, you take that hat off and give it to somebody else. And then you get to the point that you're living that ultimate lifestyle and you're running your machine very, very smooth and well oiled.
How do what's a difference between a billionaire's lifestyle and a millionaire's lifestyle?
Well, it
Because
depends on how
you've
many
probably seen
millions you're comparing the billion to, right?
five, $10 million, some in the lower millions, not 500
What's the
million.
difference in their lifestyle? They have way more people at their call, at their access to do things for them. And that's why they can often grow bigger. And one of the things I learned from that is when I didn't have money years ago, when I was starting a business, I literally put on a credit card enough money to hire an assistant. That's how powerful assistants are. In fact, I use it in a demonstration. These are my credit cards I got them from over 30 years
Wow.
ago. I don't care about, the interest on these, I don't know, they're loan sharking, right? 18, 25%. But if I can get 100% return on that investment by bringing somebody else in, it's worth it. And that's where people, you get too caught up in the routine of the business. And I think a lot of times people don't understand what their real profit is. Like, let's say we get this pen, and we're running a business, we're going to sell this pen, and we pay $2 for this pen, and we sell it for $5. If I ask the average person, we spent $2 on this pen and we sold it for $5, what's our profit? The average person is going to say $3. But it's not $3, it's less than $3. You had to go get the pen. Maybe it was shipped to you. You had to go to your door to go get it. You had to order it somewhere. You have to take it out of the box. You have to facilitate it.
Mm.
It is not a $3 profit. So often what happens is when people realize that they're not making as much as they are and they should be charging more or streamlining things differently, they realize they need to adjust how they operate their business and how they look at money and how they look at the ROI.
Wow, that was powerful. The and it's funny, especially. I know you used the pen example. We work with a lot of ecom clients as well, and they'll
Yeah.
they'll they'll say the very same thing, right? They look. A lot of business owners will look primarily at the profit margins of the product itself, and they don't even
Yeah.
realize that there's so many expenses. Like I think, like most businesses, especially us, like we're like service software. We try to do
Yeah.
33% are usually like payroll expenses.
Yeah.
33% is usually like just cost of running your business, right? Things
Yeah.
like rent, softwares, all that other crap, right?
Right.
And then hopefully we try to yield for 33% profit margin, right? And that's
Yeah.
kind of been like the rule of thumb that
Good.
we've been trying to operate in since essentially for the last 13 years, right? We always try to like stay within the, obviously those fluctuate, right? But But what you're saying in that example is most people only look at that first 33%, is that actual cost of goods, right? Or things like that. So very powerful there. I have another question for you. So these people that, and I want to go back to the event for 1 second. You know, people, they
Mhm.
jump on the plane, we fly
Yep.
to the Bahamas. I have my 7 uh people that are coming with me, right? My 7 clients that are
Yep.
coming with me. When I land in the Bahamas, am I going to like a conference room or something like that, or is it like, you know
No,
what I
you're
mean,
not
or is
going
it
to a
just like a
conference room. I
big
should,
thing?
I should bring this up for you on the screen. No, we're going to have breakfast. Then after breakfast, we go out on the best office in the world. It's literally a dock over the ocean. And that
Mm,
is where we sit and do our thing. And then after that, we go to a private island for lunch, weather permitting. And that's where lunch is. It's a very laid back atmosphere. Plus, with only 8 people, it's very, very intimate. And that's the whole concept behind it. We don't have 20 people. We don't have 25 people. We keep it small. We like it that way. It's very controllable. And that way, when somebody leaves, they're not leaving with a lack of information. In fact, half of the people, when we come back at night, half of them are asleep. They're worn out. I wear you out, which is a good thing, that I know I've done my job with not just doing things, but more so with knowledge. And you stop and think about it. If you go to a seminar, a 3-day seminar, and you removed the breaks and removed the fluff, you could do a 3-day seminar
oh
in
yeah,
3 to 5 hours or 7 hours. Well, basically, you're essentially getting a 3 to 5 day seminar in one day, because we're having lunch together, breakfast together, dinner together, entertainment together, in the jet together. It's just nonstop.
yeah. And the like
Total
most
immersion.
of the coaches that you see, what's like the average price that they would charge their clients? What's like the kind of like the retail that you would kind of expect to?
Average for the coaches, I would say probably 10 on the low end, some maybe 20, some more. Some just do it enough to break even. The reason they want to do that is because they want to, get a really great relationship with present clients or new clients, and they want to be able to convert them and upsell them into other things,
Yeah,
because at the end of the
exactly
day,
right.
you see the relationship is, talk about know, like, and trust. It's at a whole new level when it's done, because they're connecting this incredible experience with you, and
Yeah.
your know, like, and trust has gone out the roof.
Yeah, we used to do a program that was called Dash Day, and basically what we
Mm,
used to do is uh, 12 people used to fly down to our office in Fort Lauderdale, and we had this big
nice.
studio in the middle of our office that we built out with beautiful chairs and that like
Yep.
little tables folded over. You can put your laptop, all this cool stuff, right? And 12 people used to come down, and it was basically it was an 8-hour window of just straight strategy tactics, like moving as fast as possible. It was a 1-day workshop, right? And they would fly out from all over the world. And we did it, I
Nice.
think, 4 or 5 times over the span of 6 months, right? We tried to do like
Wow.
one every single month. And
Yeah.
the reason why I'm telling you this story is because those 12 people that used to fly down, for whatever 50, 60 people that did it throughout the course of those 6 months, those are
Yep.
some of our best clients that we have, because
100%.
the relationship, it's next level when somebody is coming into your world,
100%.
into your office. Also, obviously going, I think in my opinion, going to the Bahamas with them, that's like going on vacation with your clients, right? That's
Yeah.
even is one level up, in my
Yeah.
opinion, right? But just I can tell you, from bringing them into our world and having them hang out with us for 8 hours out of their day,
Yep.
lunch and then dinner at the end of it, and then flying back, dude, the revenue that comes from that, because they become long-term customers, right? They know,
100%.
like, and love you, not trust you, love
Yeah.
you. Hey, real quick, if you're a marketing agency or a B2B service or software provider, Dashclicks offers white label fulfillment services and software to businesses just like yourself. Go ahead and create your free Dashclicks account. I went ahead and left a link in the show notes, or you could just go to dashclicks.com.
No, you're right. And you know what's cool about doing it out of the country? You're getting a whole culture change. We're not flying to Key West or flying inside of the United States. Now, I let people come with me if they want, like if I'm doing a TV show, they want to understand how to get on national TV, or if I'm doing a speaking engagement, they can come with me if they're a speaker and learn. But they still come with me. They get to come to jet, they go the behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, when you're changing culture and you're putting them in a whole new environment, it really is a game changer. No, and that's why we find, Chad, that 80% of the coaches that do a joint venture with us, they come back and do it again. That's how we have one guy that's done like, I don't know, 4 or 5 from every industry, from the air conditioning to the coaching industry to all different industries, network marketing, you name it.
Yeah, that's cool and powerful. All right, I'm going to fire off some more questions, just stuff that's just been lingering off the top of my mind. It might be random questions, but it'll be fun.
Cool.
You have a plane. You can get on your plane whenever the hell you want. You live 1 mile away. You can jump on a plane and leave whenever you want. True, right? True or false?
True.
You can. Okay, cool.
1 mile away.
With that type of power, because that's like a superpower in my opinion. How often are you flying, like, and getting out of Lakeland, Florida, and just flying and going to places and traveling? And also, I know, by the way, just to add some context, the planes that you're flying, you're not flying to Europe on these planes. It's a certain amount of hours away, right?
Yeah, the furthest I tip. Well, I'm going to, I'm doing Vegas next week, but my big thing is the Bahamas. I'll go to the Bahamas, I don't know, anywhere from 1 to 4 times a month. And then Jamaica as well. That's where I'm actually originally from. You'd never know it, but that's where I'm actually from. But so yeah, well, Sunday. So what I'm doing now is if I find people in Central Florida doing an event, sometimes I'll bring the helicopter and take them up. So that's what I did. I just I found a couple people that I wanted to connect with. I said, hey, you want to go? I'll come pick you up. We'll go fly around the helicopter. So we flew down Tampa. So Sunday was a helicopter. Week before last was the jet. This Friday, this weekend, I go to Vegas. So I'm always trying to incorporate aviation because I love it so much into the business. Can't get enough.
When you're flying these planes, first of all, just to park a plane is pretty expensive, right? You need a
aviation is not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap at all. And then just gas and fueling the plane and the expenses of flying the plane a couple of hours. From what I understood, is sometimes it could be a couple $1,000s an hour while you're in the air. Right?
Easy.
So like you can't just get up and be like, you know what? I want to go to Vegas to eat my favorite hamburger. You're not doing that.
Unless you want to spend 40 or 50 grand, you can.
That's
but
what I'm saying.
That's from Florida. It's not a cheap. It's not a cheap thing at all, Chad. That's the challenge with it. But that's the price you pay for the lifestyle. Just as much as it's not always cheap to hire another person for your business. But if you value your time and your superpower, you're going to figure that out. And then you also, what I encourage people to do is, what is it that you really, really love to do? And try to incorporate that into your business. So there's 3 things that I really love to do. I love helping and teaching people. I love the Caribbean, and I love flying jets. So take us what Gary did. I came up with a coaching program, bring you in the jet, take you to the Bahamas, and I'm going to be able to help you and be really, really satisfied seeing your results. Boom, I got it right there. So everything I do, I funnel into that. I have my inner circle program for a year where people pay a certain amount and they have me for an entire year, or my team. And part of that, we include taking them over to the Bahamas. And then if they want to do their own customers and their own clients, we can do that as well. Everything weaves into those 3 things. And I love it. It just makes it's challenging enough to be an entrepreneur, as you know. And if you're not doing some things where it's a lot of fun for you, man, you're going to dry out. And so every time I get in the jet, I was just telling one of my team members who were flying, I'm taking her and her boyfriend on Saturday. I said, because I'm having some challenges doing some stuff in the last week or so. I said, at least when I push that button and start that jet, I'm going to want to put up with more of this crap because I enjoy it so much. So it does. And you need to have things that fuel you. And, it's like a drug addict, excuse a notorious illustration. But what does a drug addict do when they want drugs, right? First of all, they have to get a fix. So when they get a fix, they'll do everything they can to get a fix. I remember years ago, Jim Rohn, you've heard of Jim Rohn, right, Chad?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So Jim Rohn and I had to be in an event in Tampa. This was years ago. And Jim could not fly commercially to get to the event because the day before the event, he had another event. There was no commercial airline. So I flew up to Chicago, brought him down, and I asked him a question because he was responsible for training Tony Robbins. And I said, so what was it about Tony Robbins that really stood out? And this is what you have to do as a business owner, entrepreneur. He said he has the guts of a burglar. So what does a burglar do? They will, not that I'm encouraging you to rob, steal, or cheat, but you got to figure out how to get your fix. And you're going to do whatever it takes to get your fix. And when you get your fix, you're all excited and you're afraid about running out of that fix. I'm afraid about not having any money to fly the airplane, the jet, the helicopter. So I got to go figure out what I got to go to do to have the guts of a burglar to get my fix. And that's how you play the game. So when you have the guts of a burglar, as the illustration, you have to have a lot of confidence. Sometimes you have to be a little stupid, because burglars are pretty dumb. You're going to get caught sooner or later. But the whole illustration is have the tenacity to do whatever it takes to get the job done and know where it is that you're wanting to go and get there.
Yeah. You said one thing earlier. You said burnout. A lot of entrepreneurs, they do get burnout, right? And you do a lot of mindset coaching as well. What would you tell entrepreneurs out there? Because there's a ton of them, including myself. I get burnt out a lot too. What would you tell entrepreneurs that are getting burnt out within their daily routine or their business? Because it's really all in one, right? It's not your daily routine. Your daily routine is your business, like especially if you're working every day, right? So that is your daily routine. What would you tell people to do to try to just bring either some excitement back in it, right? For somebody who's been doing something for so long.
Yeah. So when a person feels they get burned out, there's one thing they're losing. And you always want to associate, because I want to say there's no such thing as burned out, but why is it that people bring it up? It's a perception. What is it a perception of? It's a perception that you are lost or you are losing your purpose, because most people don't get burned out when they're making a ton of money. Sometimes you can, right? But there's obviously not enough satisfaction or there's not enough reward. So because you put in the time with minimal satisfaction or reward, what does that do to your purpose? It erodes your purpose. That's why you're feeling burned out. It's just like a relationship, if you feel that your relationship is stale, there's something that you're not doing that you did before. That's why I encourage friends that are married, and I know you are, I would encourage you to make sure you keep dating your wife. There's a reason you did it before you married her, right? You wanted to woo her and make her happy. Well, friggin' keep doing it. So you've got to look for the things that you did this originally for and figure out what is it that you're doing that's causing you to lose some of your purpose. And maybe you got to go get another fix again.
Yeah. Wow, that was powerful. Thank you for that.
Keep dating her.
Yeah, keep dating. Well, thankfully, I love my wife, and my wife keeps me grounded, which good is good. I have a crazy life between 3 kids and a business with obviously there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces to the puzzle. That can definitely cause some burnout along the way and stress. Even sometimes I realize sometimes even when you're making a lot of money, right? And the reality is people say that money doesn't make you happy. And I get that. And I understand the concept, but money does solve a lot of problems, right? So like you said before, when you're making a lot of money, usually what that does is it creates momentum and it creates a drive. It will give a lot of people that fix. But I feel like sometimes and it's not just me, I'm just speaking generally, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you are making a lot of money, right, and there is that momentum, there's still the mindset burnout where you're like, I've been doing this for like 10 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like at what point does it change, shift, end, and something else happens, right? Like,
sure.
So
and sometimes you have to look at a different perspective too. Sometimes it's better to be rich and bored than constantly struggling.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Those bring different problems.
100%, 100%. And I had a millionaire mentor when I was younger, and he said, the only thing money does for you if you don't know how to handle it, it just makes you comfortably unhappy. But he said he'd rather be comfortably unhappy than uncomfortably unhappy. And I agree with him.
No, I agree with that. I mean, when I grew up, I grew up with, my mom basically raised 3 kids, and I was sharing a room with 2 of my brothers growing up. So I've been on both sides of the world. Obviously now, the decade later, after working for so long, I have some success and I can reap the rewards. But yeah, I agree with that. It's better to have money, and because I think what money really does ultimately is it takes away the primary stress I think that most Americans or just people in the world have, where it's
Sure.
like I can't afford to eat, I can't afford to feed my family, can't
Yeah.
afford to put my kids through school, right? So money can solve those problems, but there's still those inner beliefs or inner issues, right, that a lot of people still deal with. There's, by the way, there's tons. Look at tons of billionaires and millionaires that jump off a building, right? Like
100%.
why they had so much money? Why did they go jump off a building? What was the
Yeah.
point in that, right? And you
Yeah.
see a lot of people like that, right? So I guess it's like, your inner mindset. Sometimes it goes past just revenue, which is a great statement to say on the podcast for behind the revenue, right?
Sure. No,
But
you're right about that because I think that's where a lot of people, especially men, there's a lot of men entrepreneurs, there's a lot of women too, but it's a very masculine thing, right? There's a lot of masculine psychology or psyche to being an entrepreneur. And for the men, the problem with men, they don't often like to express the way they think. And the
true.
advantage of women over men when it comes to that, women feel first and think second,
Hmm.
and men think first and feel second. And the problem with that for men is when they don't or they're not used to being a person that opens up with their emotions and thoughts, they bottle that in, and it's really not good for your mental health. It's really, really very, very bad. So a male entrepreneur needs to have good male friends that they can go to with a problem emotionally and not be punished for seeming or looking weak, because
Yep.
those are the people that don't have anybody to go to. And if they do, their friends punish them. And those are the people, because they don't have anybody to go to, they have to do the drugs, the alcohol, and the suicide.
Yep.
And
Dude,
I
this
know
has
that because
been
I've been through a lot of stuff.
I know you have. I know your journey's been a a crazy one. I think we all have crazy journeys, but
Yeah,
um Gary, a lot to unravel here. This has honestly been an amazing podcast. I think one of my favorite episodes that we've shot so far, which is really awesome. As we wrap up here, if somebody wants to reach out to you, because there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs, agency owners, business owners that watch the
sure.
show. If they want to take this trip with you to the Bahamas, or if they maybe are a coach in the space and they want to bring their clients, where's the best place that they can reach out to you?
Probably on just any social media, just say, hey, I saw your interview with Chad. I want to chat with you about your Jet Mastermind, and I'll, put you in touch with our team member that manages all that. And yeah, we'll put it together. Or maybe you and I'll do it after some people see this. Say, Chad, let's do this
Yeah.
with you and Gary. What's it going to cost?
Yes.
I'm game
If
for
you
that
want to
too, right?
jump on a plane with me and Gary, let me know in the DMs. We'll make it happen.
Right.
All right, Gary, brother, thank you so much. I appreciate you as always. It's always been
I
a
catch
pleasure
you.
bringing you into our community. I love you so much, man, and we will see you on the next time. Have a good
Yes,
one.
let's do it again, Chad. Thank you for your kindness and your time. I appreciate your
You
real
too.
estate here.
Hey, do you want more of the Behind the Revenue podcast? Look, join our private Facebook group where marketing agencies from all over the world are sharing strategies, network, and scale their businesses together. Visit facebook.com/groups/-clicks to get instant access. And also, if this podcast helped you in any way, please do me a favor, share it with friends, leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. That really helps build our community.